Okay, here's something I didn't expect. I am streaming on Christmas. This was not planned, but because I had all my family stuff on Christmas Eve, that kind of, I had all my family stuff on Christmas Eve. And then my wife ended up having to work Christmas Day, today. So here I am, holidays, streaming on said holiday on Christmas. Not mad about it, just not something that I expected. But didn't know what else to do, if I'm being completely honest. I had a couple of ideas. Almost just decided to play some video games, if you want the truth of it. It's not a thing that I honestly get to do the way that I used to do it. Like, I used to play a lot of video games, and it's just not something that I get a chance to sit down and do the way that I used to. But since I literally just beat the video game Conan the Barbarian for the Xbox 360, I'm not aching to play a game right now. Primarily because the last two levels of that game, they feel broken. If I'm being perfectly honest, they feel broken. They just do. Like, it doesn't feel balanced. Like a lot of the attacks and whatnot that they give you, that you feel like you know all these combos and everything. I almost feel like they tried too much with that game and then didn't choose the proper balance. Like, the game works and it's fun for what it is. I have a good time with it. But if I'm being perfectly honest, it's not a great game. It was good enough because I went in expecting what it was going to be and I had fun. Otherwise, I probably would have been really irritated with that game. It's not like up to par on like a God of War game. But for a standard kind of game like that Conan game was actually really solid. So aside from the last two levels, which really get stupid with like oh, you didn't know this platform was going to fall until you jumped on it and now you're dead. Now you could try this level again and now you'll make it. That kind of stuff I don't like. And I also don't like when they put you up against a boss character, like the last boss character, where you have all these moves and all these abilities. None of them work. Like, you have all these long-form combos and everything that you taught yourself over the time, but this guy has to be beat in a very, very specific way, and all the skills that you have accumulated up to this point mean nothing. That kind of stuff does make me kind of crazy. But aside from my complaints, because I am complaining, I had a good time with the Conan game for the 360. But like I said, since I just beat it, I didn't want to come on. I didn't want to play a game right now. I feel like I have gamed and I'm happy with the amount of gaming that I've done, even though I don't get to do it that often. Good evening. Merry Christmas. Did I get toys and figures? Yes, but no. So here's the thing. I did not get any figures for Christmas per se, but I did have four figures delivered. Five. We'll make that argument here in a minute. Delivered yesterday. For all different reasons, to be fair. A couple different companies. Just things that I did not expect to receive on Christmas Eve because I didn't figure they would be shipping, but they were, and the stuff showed up. So, great. I mean, it is, for what it's worth. It is great. It is cool that I got some stuff. Not going to cry, you know what I mean? But we are going to go over that stuff first. We're going to talk about like what I got that's being added to the stack, and sure, we'll open a couple things, because what else are we doing right now? I have until about 8, so I'll have to get off before that. But you get the idea. Thank you. You too. So, what showed up? Because in terms of my family stuff, I got some new clothes and some stuff like that. I did not get any figures, which honestly is a little rare. For the most part, I at least end up with Amazon cards or something like that. But this time, did not. Most of the stuff was very direct. I did get some cool stuff. I got a Conan the Barbarian shirt, which was really cool. I got a couple of Star Trek shirts. I got this new hoodie, actually. So just a couple of things that are pretty cool. So like, hey, you know what? I'm not complaining by any means, because if we're being perfectly honest, once you reach adult status, sometimes there are Christmases where you don't get anything. So yeah, but I didn't hate by any means anything that I got, nor did I hate the amount that I got or anything of the sort. And to be fair, I got two things, which man, talk about becoming an adult. I basically got $100 worth of free grocery cards, basically, like cards that I could use at my grocery store. And I was like, yes, because now I don't have to buy them. Basically, somebody else took care of my budget for that month, which, by the way, means that I can repivot that money into something else that I want to do, and that's awesome. Hey, thank you. Hey, what's going on, man? Good day. Happy holidays to whatever you celebrate. I'm not particular one way or another. You guys know me by now. But what showed up? So here we go. What showed up? First thing that showed up yesterday. All of these showed up yesterday. The first thing that showed up was this. This is the Super Scroll and Scroll Queen. We didn't get it for the Scroll Queen. We didn't get it for Super Scroll. We got it for Spider-Woman, because she has the Spider-Woman head in here. It is not green. It is just a very normal Spider-Woman head with the Spider-Woman body, with the wings, with the original costume, the classic costume. That's fantastic. And I got it ridiculously cheap compared to what it actually costs. So a while back, I was on Big Bad. That's interesting. I haven't had that problem in a little while. Let's see if we can't move the light. Get this to refocus real quick. Doom. There. But yeah, so I was on Big Bad a while back, and I found this, and it was still pretty expensive, to be honest. Even with it marked down, it was pretty expensive. And then I found a seller on Amazon. And this seller on Amazon was asking like $16. And I said, something seems wrong. If they're selling it for so much in one place and basically giving it away in another, why are they doing that? Because it's less than just buying a single character at this point. Everything that I looked at seemed to put the idea that this seller specifically was a trusted seller. I didn't have any kind of reason to worry about it, so I imagine that this is very real. I have no reason to imagine that it isn't, but I got it very cheap, like way cheaper than I anticipated getting it, which is awesome. And the cool thing about this, like I said, is that I don't really care. That Super Scroll is fine, to be fair. He'll go good on the shelf next to my other Super Scroll, which is he's right there. There's the other Super Scroll. But he'll go on the shelf with that Super Scroll, and he'll be a fine addition, but I really wanted the Spider-Woman for this, and I didn't want to pay the money that it costs. If I can get both figures for cheaper than I can get just the Spider-Woman, you better believe I went this direction. So, that's that part of the story in general. Move over here real quick. Spider-Woman is something I don't know anything about this deal, because whenever I talk to people, I think, I get that. So Spider-Gwen is a little confusing, because while the general community seems to call her Spider-Gwen, in her books, that is not what she's called. She's also not Spider-Girl. She is Spider-Woman. So she is Spider-Woman, but then over here in the 616, we have a different Spider-Woman. And then that got really confusing in general, because then Gwen started going to college or whatever in the 616. And so then then she couldn't be Spider-Woman because there was already a Spider-Woman, so she chose to be Ghost Spider. And then they tried to make that stick. They even changed the comic So it was no longer Spider-Gwen, it was Ghost Spider, and nobody cares. Nobody's going to call her that. I realize that in the superhero community, unless everybody knows who she is, which in... Was she from 35? Universe 35? Irrelevant. I think she's from 35. Irrelevant. Wherever she is from, they did out her. She got outed and everybody knows who she is. They know that she is Gwen Stacy. And so Spider-Gwen actually became a thing that they were saying in her book, in her universe, until they decided she was so popular they wanted her to mix with all the other heroes. So they were like, let's bring her into the 616 and she could do stuff with Spider-Man. And then they tried the Ghost Spider thing and it just didn't work. She's somewhat of a complicated character when it comes to naming, because everybody knows her by the Spider-Verse thing. And because of the Spider-Verse thing, everybody immediately took to calling her Spider-Gwen. And then the comic took to the idea, hey, that name is great, let's launch a comic book with Spider-Gwen. And then it just went crazy from that point. Like, we just cannot get it back on track, and she will forever be Spider-Gwen at this point. I don't even call her Ghost Spider. And I used to, for like the first 5 years of her career, I collected every single book that she released. I was in the trenches. I was up to date on every single book that she released for like the first 5 years, and then I just kind of fell out. I know who most Spidey people are, but Spider-Woman, zero details, never knew who she was. And you can't know everything. The comic books is just too vast. That's right, $16. Little man, put that shit in my hand. I can't sing the rest, not without getting in trouble on YouTube. Let's see. Ghost Spider is just Johnny Blaze after getting bit by the radioactive spider. Yeah, I never understood the Ghost Spider thing. I think the name is stupid, and I don't think she looks. And all. Then they tried Gwenpool. No. I'm sorry. Gwenpool, completely different thing. My mind run in circles. Gwenpool, completely different thing. I already know that. I don't need to be corrected. They tried Gwenom because she got the Venom type symbiote, which is very different in the 35 universe. It's like a bunch of spiders, like gooey spider things that climb all over her, and then like her hoodie had like this tongue that wrapped down. It was actually a really cool look, but I actually started getting bored with the comic around the time they started all the Gwenom stuff. Fun fact, due to Spider-Woman being rather popular here, it kind of bled into other comics, and we say Superwoman and Batwoman instead of Supergirl and Batgirl. Actually, I don't know if you realize how weird that is, because if you were saying that here or there, honestly, because you guys, it sounds like you're getting the same comics we are, there is a Superwoman and there is a Batwoman. So if you're saying Batwoman or Superwoman, you're actually still, even if you're not meaning to, indirectly referencing a completely different character that is a completely different character. I know Spider-Woman from the cartoon was... I'm trying to remember from the cartoon. Did she show up in the Iron Man cartoon? Is that what you're talking about? That was a different Spider-Woman, to be fair. Regardless, the other things that showed up, I got 2 new items added to the Jada toy pile, and that is Cutman. That's right. Cutman. Yes. And we got Elecman. That's right. 2 new Mega Man figures, which is absolutely fantastic because I have kept up completely with this line. Now, you will see that I got the 2 Robot Masters. And anybody that knows that this line has been releasing 3 a wave. I didn't get the 3rd item of this wave. And there's a reason. I skipped on it. I didn't need Green Mega Man. I will admit to having the smallest amount of FOMO that made me feel like I kind of wanted him because he comes with Leaf Shield. So he's doing the leaves. But then I said, do I really need the different color Mega Mans? Because I could fall into a pit hole here that could cause me real problems. So I stayed away from it. I backed off and said, pointless, don't do that. walk away from that. And not only did I decide to kind of pull it back and walk away from that idea, I also did it for another reason. I don't want to get myself into the problem of spending the money, but I also want to see something. And I hope I'm not playing with fire here. Or leaves. Playing with leaves. I hope I'm not playing with leaves here. They will eventually release Woodman. When they do that... Oh, sorry. No. It wasn't the Leaf Shield. My mind wants it to be the Leaf Shield. I'm jumping way too far ahead in this line. It's not the Leaf Shield. I apologize. It's the bomb. He comes with the bomb. And maybe I'm playing with a bomb here. I imagine that when they release Bomb Man, he will come with his bomb. So that Mega Man has a slightly different face, but who cares? Because it's not like I can swap that onto this Mega Man. Yes, I keep this Mega Man at my desk. This Mega Man has a couple of faces, but I can't swap the green face, the green helmet, onto this Mega Man and use the different faces for the photography, so it doesn't matter. Like, I'm not going to get extra pieces for this guy, and if I get the bomb effect, won't that bomb just come with Bomb Man? And if it comes with Bomb Man, which it should come with Bomb Man, I'll be very irritated if it doesn't come with Bomb Man, but it should come with Bomb Man, and if it does, then I don't need Green Mega Man, because I'll just give him the bomb and not have to worry about the fact that I won't have all the different color Mega Mans. Because I really, in terms of toys, I don't need different color Mega Mans. So I did stay away from the third figure of this wave, because it really was just a 100% reuse Mega Man, white and green. Cool color scheme, in all honesty. Like, you can even see it in real time. I just love Mega Man so much that I have, like, this is one of the first lines that really caught me hard with a possible, like, direct FOMO. Like, oh man, I'm not going to have a Mega Man. But, like, I gotta control that. We all gotta control that. We know how bad that can get if you get wrapped up in that crap. Bomb Man should come with a bomb. If Bomb Man comes with an explosion, but not the bomb, I will be very irritated, and I will have no choice but to buy Green Mega Man. But I'm not doing that unless I have to. And yes, Kate Kane is very much the Batwoman. We didn't say Supergirl and Batgirl because obviously they aren't Superboy and Batboy. Well, I mean, yeah, but what? I'm going to be honest with you. You have me very confused right now with what is going on. There is a language barrier of sorts, because to me, what you have said now makes no sense. You're like, fun fact, Spider-Woman being rather popular here, it kind of bled into other comics, and we say Superwoman and Batwoman instead of Supergirl and Batgirl. Right, but what I was telling you is that there is a Superwoman and Batwoman, and not... So now those characters in the way that you're reading the comics are now confused, and if you were to talk to somebody and use that terminology, you would be referencing different characters completely. And of course you didn't say Supergirl and Batgirl because Superboy and Batboy. I never expected you to confuse the gender characters. I don't understand where we're going with all this now. That Spider-Woman had her own cartoon. The black suit Spider-Woman? Or are you talking about... I actually had no idea this... Oh my gosh! I've seen that on Disney+. I haven't clicked on it, but until you just said that out loud, for some reason I have clicked right by that like 5 or 6 times when I go in and I'm like looking for like a new animated series or whatever to waste some time on. It has hit me that I have scrolled past that Spider-Woman series. I'm curious. Is that any good? Like, is that worth anything at all, just to kind of throw down some time on? Or is that like one of those cartoons that, like, it's very much a product of its time and pretty much of... I'm very curious now. Apparently we do not like inconsistency in naming characters. Well, it seems like you're creating an inconsistency because there is a Batgirl, Batwoman, Batman, like, I don't know. I'm just very confused at what... That is an inconsistency in its own right if you're confusing the names of characters because those characters already belong to other characters. So you saying that just kind of creates your own inconsistency. Well, this just made my Christmas day catching this line. Well, great. That's great news. I'm glad that you're happy. I did not expect to be streaming, in all honesty, but hey, I'm happy to do it. I'm 1,000% happy to do it. Also, every Batman character has entirely Spanish names. If you told someone here that Batman is called Bruce Wayne or Robin is Dick Grayson, they'd look at you like you were crazy. Well, I mean, of course, I get that, but that's also, naming conventions are also something I've always found very, very strange. Like, I'm not sure why we don't just leave names alone. Like, other cultures can just learn to say the name correctly, as far as I'm concerned. It's very weird that we change names like that. And I know it causes nothing but problems, in all honesty. And especially when you're, like, trying to look something up, or reference something, or understand something. Oh, hey, Mega Man. Kind of like, in a way, Mega Man. Mega Man is Rockman. And the only way that they've really addressed that is to say that the boy's name, not as Mega Man, is Rock. They call him Rock now in a lot of our continuity stuff. And so he's Rock, but then he gets transformed, he gets redesigned to become Mega Man. But they didn't do that with a lot of the other characters. So like Blues doesn't take the helmet off and become Blues, and then when he puts the helmet on, becomes Proto Man, so that he's just always Proto Man. So, like, it's not like we tried to fix it with everything. We only kind of tried to fix it with one character. And maybe Rockman wouldn't have flown over here, and I guess, I don't know. Like, naming conventions are a very weird thing. They're a very, very weird thing. Like, there's no end to confusion in how naming convention works from country to country. Like, it's just a real problem, in all honesty. Because now, like, I'm so used to the term or the name Mega Man, even though I know the correct name, I don't use it. Because, yeah, and that's very much in line with what you're saying, is you use the names that you are used to because that's what you guys say. But at the same time, like I said, if you come over here and you say Spider-Woman or Superwoman, those two characters exist, and that's what we're going to think you're talking about. With Jada doing Scooby-Doo, it had me wanting them to do Looney... Oh, dude, Jada's Scooby-Doo figures look fantastic. It's not a huge want. Don't misunderstand what I'm about to say, but I actually do kind of want just a Scooby-Doo. I want the mystery team on the shelf somewhere. I don't want all the monsters and all the... I'm not that huge of a Scooby-Doo fan. It was something that I grew up with. It's something I enjoyed. It's something I watched with my kid later on. So I have like a love for it, but not in like this huge consuming way. So I'm very interested in putting the mystery team up on the shelf. But I'm not like, I don't need everything. I would love to have like the van and the team to go with it, and I don't need all the monsters and everything. But I'm very interested in those Jada figures. I think they look fantastic, as all Jada figures seem to look. Basically, to us, it was weird that female Superman and Batman had girl in the name. If it's man, the other gender should be woman. The other gender is woman. Spider-Man is Spider-Man. Spider-Woman is Spider-Woman. This is... Whatever is happening right now, there is a language barrier happening here. You are not explaining it in a way that I will get. We should really drop this, because I have no clue what's even going on now. If it's girl, then the male ones should be boy. Okay. Yes and no. Because there is a Superboy, and there is a Superman, and there is a Spider-Girl, and there is a Spider-Woman, and there is a Superboy, Superman, and Superwoman. So no, it's not an inconsistency of names, it's just what those characters are named. This is just a naming convention problem. And if you were to come over here and say Superboy or Superman or Superwoman, those are 3 different characters. Just like there is a Power Girl, but there's also a Power Woman, and there's a Power Man. And all 3 of these are different characters. And there's a Wonder Girl and a Wonder Woman, and they are 2 different characters. And there's a Wonder Man, and I believe there to be a Wonder Boy, and all of them are different characters. It's not an inconsistency, it's just a name. And yes, base is forte in Japan. I do know that. Vile is vava. Yeah, I did know that, as in Boba Fett. I'm not sure how that's actually supposed to be said. I've always said vava, and I believe that's wrong, but I mean, I've seen it. I know what you're talking about. I know Mega Man well enough to know how we changed the names, is what I'm saying. Kind of like the dog is Rush, the bird is Beat, and then the wolf is Tribble, if I'm not mistaken. Will you be getting Jada Cyberpunk? No. I do not believe so. I have not played Cyberpunk. I don't really know anything about it, so I'm not connected to it yet. But I heard a lot about it. I've heard all the bad things about it, and then I've heard all the stuff that's really good now that they fixed it. And it does bring up interest to me that I know that once I do get into it, I'm really going to get into it. So right now, I don't have any desire to do so. But I'll bet you after I play that, I'm probably going to be very interested. Because everything I've seen about Cyberpunk makes me feel like I'll really enjoy that game when and if I finally get around to it. I'm so far behind. Like, I was just talking at the start of the stream. I just today beat Conan the Barbarian for Xbox 360. Like, that's about how far behind I am in actually getting to play the games that I buy and want to play. Wayne is Bruno Diaz. Okay, and I get that. So that would, it's naming conventions. Like, I don't know why he's not just Bruce Wayne. But I guess, it's just a naming convention thing. It's weird that we do this. So, I ordered also, and it came in, the Norseman. Yes, I got the Norseman from Frazetta Girls. It has been delivered. This thing is beautiful. Like, this thing is beautiful. This is straight up Frank Frazetta artwork. This I ordered directly from Frazetta Girls, and I am very thrilled that I did so. Last 2, I did, actually, the first one I did not order from Frazetta Girls. I ordered from Big Bad. That was Dark Wolf. Then, I ordered Tigra from Frazetta Girls. Because I wanted to see if there was a difference. I think I saved $10. I think that's all it was. I saved like $10. Then, I ordered the Norseman from Frazetta Girls. And I don't know why. I don't know if this is because this is my second major purchase or what. But this time, the Norseman came with like this little sticker. It's just a little thing, but it's cool regardless. They also came with, and I can't show you the front of this card because it's very Frazetta artwork. Okay? So I can't show you the front of this card. But basically, there is a Frazetta girl on this card, as well as a man standing next to her. And they are very much what you would imagine because they are Frazetta. And this is a code that they sent me to take 15% off the next character that I get. And I'm hoping that that's Conan, because I've already seen that they already have him cast completely in white, so the sculpt is done, as far as I am aware. And I'm very much looking forward to putting a Conan the Barbarian from this collection on my shelf. And then they also sent me this thing, which I also cannot turn around and show you, because there are Frazetta Girls. This is a very, I mean, the print on this is insanity. I kind of really wish I could show this off. I mean, the print is unbelievable on this. The color and the design and like it's unreal. I can basically see the brush strokes on this little card is how great of a print this is. But it's a piece of Frazetta art as a postcard, and this will not become a postcard. I'm hoping that this is a regular thing, and as I buy more stuff from Frazetta Girls, they will keep doing this because I will frame a big like collection of these things if this is a thing. Like it is really, really cool. There are a couple of Frazetta pieces that I would like to be able to put on the walls in here, in all honesty. But we'll see we'll see where that goes as time goes. But like it all came with this, and I was not expecting it at all. Like because the last one that I bought just came with Tigra. It was just Tigra, and there was nothing else to it. So yeah. Now the next one I have coming is Vampirella because I did buy her. I figured, why wouldn't I, right? I figured, why wouldn't I? And so I bought her. Let's see. Connor Kent is Superboy. Yeah. For a minute there, I thought the box was done wrong. Then I remembered the video shows everything mirrored. Yes. Yeah, I purposely keep the video mirrored. That way, if I show something... look, I know some people don't get in trouble for it, okay? Some people can show you anything they want to show you. I have no idea why. I have no idea how. But, like, Fandom Night and this channel have been flagged for me just holding up a picture. Like, where I've literally been flagged and been like, you don't have the right to show. And I'm like, why? Like, this is completely in the realm of fair use. I have no idea what the problem is. But I've been flanked for a couple of things that kind of shock me. Yeah, I haven't watched anything on it yet, but I'm very much into watching it and I want to play it. Did you see the wall of text I sent on Discord about the whole our fans just want... Yeah, and I did. I saw that, and it doesn't change where I currently am with all of that. And I think you misunderstood it and like took it a little personally. It's just an explanation as to why it's been very hard to get everybody like on the same page right now, is because there's so much that we wanted to do and so much that we left behind. And it's a big, like, you see it on this channel. I'm into a lot of stuff, and this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. Like, I'm not interested in talking about tokusatsu and Sentai all the time. Like, this is it. I like this stuff. You'll notice I have one shelf, and it does not go back there for my Sentai stuff, and it's only the Power Rangers I grew up with. That's it. Nothing else. Like, I just have zero interest in it right now, and I've never had a whole lot of interest. It was just like a crazy 10-year stint of videos that we fell into, and I don't think it's done. Don't misunderstand where I'm coming from. It's just that talk about feeling burnt out. So the last time we did one of these, we stopped... We opened a G.I. Joe. So the next step would be Star Wars if we open something. So, saying that, let's see. That, I know that I have. Oh, I know. I know I have that. Let's see what else I have. One thing I'm supposed to have hasn't shown up. I got a notice that I was going to get something Star Wars delivered, and it was supposed to be delivered on the 23rd. And I'm not mad about it. This is the holidays, and I would rather that workers get a chance to spend their time with their families than send me my toys. I 100% am on with that. So I really don't care that it's late, but there's 2 items that would have been added to this list that are not added yet because they simply haven't shown up. But I did buy something Star Wars that's supposed to be on the way. The next thing that I do have down here, if I'm not mistaken, is that right? Do I have? Yes. Yes, that is. Great. So I will add her because I actually have her sitting right here. And then the last item that I'm pretty sure I have is that. I think that's all 4 of them that I currently have sitting over at Star Wars. The Star Wars collection is not vast in terms of the unboxing. It's not a huge thing, but we do have a couple of things sitting over there. So I have a decent enough amount of stuff. Let's fix that. There we go. I'm not sure if it's just because it's really dark today. No, normal. I've been doing these at night. I wonder if this light needs to be moved. I wonder if I had it higher the last time we streamed, because I don't remember losing this the way that I am right now. Regardless, I think it's fine. We'll figure it out. But yeah, the last time I did the show, I don't remember losing the camera as much as I am right now. Maybe this light has been moved. Maybe that's the issue, because I have a light over there and I have a light over here. And I think this one, in all honesty, I need to put up there. I think that'll help it quite a bit. And then I think this one needs to be turned a little more. In fact, I wonder if I could kind of get that right now, or if this would cause a problem. Try that. Maybe that'll help. Maybe it's more direct light, because if it's over there, maybe it'll help us a little bit. We'll see. We'll see. And I get that. Sometimes we just have to say the thing we need to say so that we can get our understanding out there. Let's see. I kind of want new, modern, articulated, and sculpted TOS and TNG 112. I can understand that. I will say that I've stuck pretty consistently to opening Playmates, because it's just the figures I grew up with, and I still think that they're kind of the best Star Trek toys that we've had. That being said, I've seen ones that are better looking, but they're like too big. And then I've seen ones that look a lot better, or I've seen ones that have really great articulation, but don't look as good to me. And then I've seen ones that look fantastic, but they don't move very well. And then I've seen the 5-point articulation things that I'm not really a big fan of. But so I'm kind of, I'm kind of in a bad, I don't know. I want new Star Trek. But at the same time, I've yet to find anything that I would put my money in. And even when they tried to bring the Playmates line back, they tried to do these and they tried to do them again and bring them back in a modern setting. I looked at that Data, I looked at that Khan, I looked at that Picard. I passed on all of them. And that Spock. I didn't like any of them. I didn't really like the way the legs were necessarily. And I didn't really like the face sculpts. Something about all of them bothered me. And I can't put my finger on exactly what it was, but I was just unimpressed. I didn't care for them. I don't know yet. Here's my thing, okay? Jared Leto has already back-to-back screwed up 2 major icon characters. Arguable with Morbius. I would claim him to be an iconic character, but you could argue he's not really that big. He's kind of like a 3rd-tier character, and I would not argue with you. But you already screwed up the Joker, which now scares me that you have your hands on Skeletor. But Jared Leto is he's like a thrice proved fantastic actor. Like, he's won awards. He's done fantastic work. He has rocked roles that he has been in when he has the right mindsets. I don't like the whole method acting thing with some of the stories that I've heard, how he's treated people and whatnot. But at the same time, I can't deny some of his results in some unbelievably good movies. And I'll also say this, sometimes the casting directors see something that we don't see. Sometimes they do not. Sometimes they do not. But sometimes they very much have the inside to see something that we can't see. And maybe, just maybe, they saw something with the fact that he's basically going to be more his voice than anything else, because he will be so changed, makeup-wise, that all they really need is his body language and his voice and his acting chops, but they don't necessarily need him recognizable. And maybe that's, I don't know. I really don't know. All I can do is wait. All I can do is wait and see. Maybe this movie will be terrible. Maybe this movie will be exactly what Motu needs to move into the future. I don't know, nor will I claim to have any possible idea. Let's see. Yes. And I'm not. Will say I heard that Jared's Joker actually messed up by the filmmakers. No, it wasn't. Apparently he actually played an... No, he didn't. No. I refuse. I refuse to believe it. Because I saw that movie. And I saw some of the deleted scenes. And the stuff they left in does not feel like Joker to me. And the stuff they took out does not feel like Joker to me. Listen, if you're playing a character and you nail that character, you can get it in one scene. Case in point, the introduction of Batman in Batman v Superman. Nailed it. Nailed it. Felt like Batman. Was immediately interested. Hit icon status immediately. Case in point, Wonder Woman has 15 minutes of screen time. Was so good, she got her own movie. These are not the only characters that have done something like this. Jared Leto, Joker, Smiley Hand. Want to sleep with my girlfriend? I'm a gangster. I put all these knives on the floor. I'm so crazy. That is a bad Joker. Period. And maybe it is down to the writing. Maybe they wanted to try something different and it just didn't work. That is a bad Joker. It is a bad Joker in every single scene. They couldn't even hit the iconic moments that were given to them. They were handed icon moments. Literally ripped directly from the pages, and he couldn't pull them off. The closest thing to the Joker that we got was he shot Harley Quinn. His relationship didn't even make sense. Like, why is he going after Harley? Why is he coming after Harley Quinn in the first place? He doesn't actually care about her. Like, I don't know. He did a bad Joker. The filmmakers are not at fault for that. Maybe the script is at fault for that. Maybe the character design is at fault for that. His acting is still a part of it. He screwed it up. Period. End of story. Did not do good. Bad Joker. Done. There's no missing scenes that make me feel like they... And then when they do put a missing scene in, when they added him back into like the Justice League so that he could do a reach around joke, get out of here. That Joker is terrible. The Joker is terrible. Jared Leto messed it up. It's a bad Joker. It cannot be saved. There's no saving it. I am sorry. No. No, it's not a thing. It's not a thing. And Batman v Superman is a bad movie. Objectively, it's a bad movie. Both versions of it are objectively a bad movie. The director's cut being a better version of said bad movie. But that doesn't mean I don't find things in it that make me okay to watch it. As you will see if you actually listen to my Superman video that I did when I talked about Doomsday very recently, I talked about Batman v Superman, and I talked about how there are things in that movie that I can watch it and unapologetically I will have a good time. I will have a good time. I can watch that movie. That doesn't mean it's good. It means that there are so many scenes in it that hit so hard that it kind of saves the rest of it for me. I can watch the Batman scenes and be mesmerized. I can be like, this is the Batman I have always wanted. I can watch the Wonder Woman scene and be like, oh, she's so good. I can watch the tension between Batman and Superman out of costume and be very interested. I can even somewhat get behind the idea of the movie. But when the whole movie comes into full view, it's a bad movie. I can watch a bad movie, though, and still tell you the parts that are good in it. And I have no problem doing that. Art is subjective. Dude, Willem Dafoe would have been one of the best Jokers ever. Ever. And see, this is the thing right here. Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger is another one of those that basically, that's what I mean. If you do it right, you can nail it in one scene. That Joker from the Suicide Squad is in many scenes, and all of them are bad. All of them. I cannot think of a single scene in that movie, not even one, where I was like, oh, that's the Joker. No. It's bad. It's just simply bad. He's bad. He's a terrible Joker. Would go on record as calling him the worst Joker. Absolutely. This is interesting. We are about to open 3 characters. There are only 3 votes. All 3 of them are split evenly. We're about to open 3 Star Wars characters. This just became like a Star Wars opening. I'm fine with that. I wasn't expecting it, but I'm fine with it. Interesting. Okay, let me put that there, because we're going to open that. Let me put this here, because we're going to open this. Let me put that there, because we're going to open that. Totally agree. Heath Ledger, in the first 15 minutes of the movie, I could tell it was going to be an amazing movie. Right! My dog says open talking. Okay, so yeah, let's do it. I was not expecting like almost a Star Wars stream, but here we go. I'm fine with it. First on the roster, Grand Moff Tarkin. Awesome. Here we go. Let's do it. First off, you know why I bought this figure? Like, I know who it is. One, it's Peter Cushing. Right? That right there, one of my favorite horror icon actors of all time. That got him points. 2, Star Wars. Tarkin? I like Tarkin. I think he's cool. Fantastic, right? But if somehow you don't know, this is really cool. This guy right here, like not this guy, but like, this guy, Peter Cushing he was like us. He was a toy collector. He played with toys. Unironically, he used to collect little army men, little soldiers. There's even an entire documentary talking about this because it was so wild that this was a thing. There are pictures of him in his toy room. Like, he had an office where he would sit and he would paint miniatures. He had a toy room where he would go in and he would lay on the floor with his toys, and he'd put soldiers on one end, and then he'd get his guys and put them on the other end, and he would kind of like play out battle scenarios. He was literally a collector. He had display cases. He was one of the absolute OG original collector guys. He would paint hundreds of miniatures, tanks, and all different kinds of things like that from different eras. And then he would put them in these display cases so he could look at them and be entranced with them. He had a club that he used to meet, like a group that used to meet at like the Veterans Hall and whatnot, where he would go and he would talk to people and hang out, and they would literally play these army men. They had like an entire game where they played, where it was like an actual game that you played with like rules and everything, playing war. This guy was one of the most distinguished actors I can think of. The very look of him, the stuff that he did, the things he was part of, the movies and icon status characters that he created. And all along, playing army men. Like, playing army men. Like, that is unbelievable. And for that alone, I was like, can I afford to not have Peter Cushing on the shelf? Everybody should have a Peter Cushing in their collection. Everybody. Period. Just for that fact alone, let's open him. Okay. Here he is. The face sculpt is very spot on. I am impressed. It's very good. Otherwise, T-pose, fine. Single joint elbows, but this is a Star Wars figure. I'm not surprised at all, because that really is a thing with the Star Wars figures. The Black Series is very shocking to me. Like, how far behind it is in, like, sculpt design. Like, some of the characters still don't even have the double knees. That shocks me. It, like, absolutely stupefies me sometimes. A lot of these figures still have pins and whatnot. Like, he has pins. It just kind of blows my mind, like, how far behind the Black Series line is when they're so far ahead of the game in other factors. Like, the face sculpt for this guy is unbelievable. Which I would give to Black Series. I would say, yeah, of course, right? Because Hasbro. But then I look at the other teams that are working in Hasbro, like, and I know I keep bringing it up, but G.I. Joe, and I'm sorry, when Hasbro is the company that is doing this, and is also the exact same company that is doing G.I. Joe, and G.I. Joe has the face sculpts it has, with the bodies it has, with the engineering it has, with the sculpts it has, and I know this guy's an older figure, but it doesn't change what I'm talking about. How this line feels behind its time. All the time. It's probably what saves me, though. Because I don't end up spending a whole lot of money except for the characters that, like, I very specifically want. Which is good. Like him. I want him. I want a Vader. I want a Luke. I want Han. I want Chewie. And my best chance to get them on the shelf in a price point that I appreciate, in a design factor that I can easily tolerate, because these are not bad figures. Yes, I did just call them out. Don't misunderstand me. These are not bad figures by any means. That's a good figure. Especially for what I paid, but this is not necessarily a fair comparison. I got mine for $9. I got it at a Wally's, but let's also be honest, he probably originally cost like $20, maybe even $25, because it's Star Wars. It's Black Series, we know this. But even at that price, that's a solid figure. Like, the coloring is really good. The sculpt design is really solid. This could be a lot looser. It's really, like, it takes a lot to bend it. Not that this guy should be throwing ninja kicks, to be fair. So, like, I guess that's fine. But can we even do... Can we get this? Oh, my gosh. You know what? You can do it. It's not perfect, but you can do it. That is the standing pose that he would often take. I'm fine with that. That's good enough. I am. In terms of this figure, they gave him the hand, but like, he didn't come with anything. He came with this. The probe droid, which is fun. That's all it is. It's just fun. It's just a dumb, fun thing. It is neat. I don't know what I'm ever going to do with it, but it is neat. But otherwise, like, he doesn't come with a blaster, but he got a blaster hand. We'll call that somewhat foresight, I guess, because... No, we're going to call it out. We're going to call it out, and we're going to add something here to this part that I think is somewhat that needs to be said. And I do think this needs to be said. It's kind of like, just like the upcoming Secret Wars Captain America that comes with a broken shield, but doesn't come with a normal shield. There is a problem in producing characters this way. Not everybody is a huge collector with a ton of spare blasters, and not everybody has 7 Captain Americas and already has a shield on the back burner so that they can pose him with the normal shield or pose him with the broken shield. And I'm not saying every character should give you everything you ever needed, but I am saying the fair basics of characters should. This guy, you gave him this hand. Give him a blaster. I'm not asking for much. It's a tiny little piece of plastic that's been included in over 100 different Star Wars figures by now. You couldn't slip one in? What if this is the first one of the Star Wars? What if you're just starting your Star Wars collection and this is the first guy you get? You could put him on the shelf without the blaster. I mean, you didn't see him with one in the series, which is fine. It's arguable. And maybe one could even argue that this hand is so that he can hold his chin. But guess what? It's not, because his elbow won't do that. So since his elbow won't do that, he can't take the pose that he's known for, where he's like thinking and like, planning and being scheming. So if he can't do that, and the only pose you can do is with his arms behind his back, you gave him a blaster hand, give him a blaster. Assume that each figure is somebody's first figure. And understand, even if we have to add a little bit to the price value of said figure, every Spider-Man should come with these hands. They should come with these. I know that's a lot of hands for every Spider-Man figure, but they're necessary, and that could be somebody's first Spider-Man figure, and maybe, in some cases, their only Spider-Man figure. There is something to be said for how this should work. And this guy does kind of call out an interesting issue in toys, where sometimes they very much treat a toy like, oh, well, I'm sure that you've already been collecting Star Wars long enough. You probably have like 20 spare blasters. Give him one. Don't give him the hand if he's not going to come with one. Because now I expect one, and I don't have one. But that's enough for this review. I don't hate him by any means, and I do have spare blasters. So, Cushing added to the shelf, as well as this thing. I'm happy with it for what it is. Okay. Let me put that to the side and see what is going on over here. Yes, he was. Absolutely. What's the name of the documentary? I saw this documentary while I was at work one day because Pixel Dan actually brought it to my attention. I'd seen the newspaper clippings before and was kind of stupefied by them. And then Pixel Dan actually talked about the documentary, and then I used a link in his video to see it. I can't remember what it was called, but I'm sure you can look up Peter Cushing toy collecting or mini soldiers or something like that, and you will find it. It was free on YouTube. Like, it was like a pretty old documentary that nobody was worried about. So I watched the whole thing. Like on YouTube. And it was pretty cool. It wasn't super long either. It was just really neat. It just really took me by surprise and showed me something that I really did not know about the man that kind of made me even more interested in him. He's Van Helsing, Dr. Frankenstein, Doctor Who. Yes, man, he was a master. He was so good at the things he chose to do. Cushing's beloved wife, Helen, fully supported his love of soldiers and train toys. I knew he did trains, too. Yes, I forgot to mention that. He loved her so much, he considered his life over when she passed before Star Wars. His book doesn't mention it. That's interesting. Now, I didn't know that he had like a super connection with his wife. I'm glad that he did, to be fair. That's actually great news all on its own. It's good to have a solid support structure, someone who cares about your things while you care about their things. It's not an easy thing to get. It's not an easy thing to have. And a lot of us, sometimes even when we have it, we don't even necessarily realize we have it until it's too late. Pay attention. That's what I'm saying. And if you can, this isn't the kind of stream for this kind of thing, but like, if you find yourself unable to answer simple questions like, what's your significant other's favorite color or favorite thing or show or different items like that, maybe you're not paying enough attention, because that's a simple question that could easily be answered. Where do they like to eat? Things of that nature. If you can't answer those questions, you're not putting the time in to be with said person. That's what I'll tell you. This is the comic book one that I'm talking about. I can't remember what comic this is from. I want to say this is very early, after they started doing the Star Wars comics, the now canon Star Wars comics. I want to say this was like pretty early in those books. But regardless, this is what we'll cover next. So, let's go ahead and jump into that. Comic book Princess Leia. This is a cool figure, I hope. I haven't opened it yet. I have high hopes. So let's do that. Why this? Is it because I have a big love for the comic book? No. I bought, I think it was 6 of the graphic novel collections of the Star Wars comics when they started coming out. And I did read all of the first run of Darth Vader. I was interested for what it was worth, but I'm not blown away by the Star Wars comics. And I never, ever, ever have been. This has nothing to do with new stuff versus Legends. For me, Star Wars makes its home on the screen. Period. Like, that is where it lives. And until Star Wars on the screen says it is a thing, it's not. I know people love the expanded universe. And I know people love Legends. And I know people were mad. And all I could say is, first time? See, I like Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles starts in comics. But one could argue that Ninja Turtles is always changing and does not necessarily make its home in any one place. Because Ninja Turtles is an odd property. It is a comic book first, and then it goes on to be a television series. But then it goes on to be a different comic and a different television series. And every single one of them changing the way that the characters work. Every single one of them. And then there's Star Trek. There are Star Trek comics. There's a Star Trek series. Star Trek makes its home on television. And no matter what novelization, no matter what comic, no matter what other side project thing that happens in Star Trek says, until it happens on the screen, it's not a thing. Period. And even sometimes when it happens on the screen, we expect that 40-year to 50-year legacy features will go through changes. They used to be called Vulcanians. They're Vulcans. It used to be space normal speed. And terms like, we've actually broken the time barrier. It's not. It's not that anymore. We changed it. We altered it. We made a difference in the way that that works because we retcon as we go through these gigantic, huge legacies. Sometimes for the betterness of certain things, like having the stories flow easier, and sometimes for continuity purposes, like from now on, these are the rules because this makes more sense than this, and this will explain like this. It happens. So I did not buy this figure because I loved this comic. I bought this figure for a very weird reason, actually. Like a kind of a weird one. I like this costume. And I like this costume for a very weird reason. I'm going to be perfectly honest. When I really stop and think about it, it's a weird reason why I like this costume so much. I played Force Unleashed. And I played the DLC. And I really got into the What If DLC. Like I really did. I was really enjoying the What If DLC really kind of blew me away. I loved the idea that like there was this guy who was not in the original continuity, and if he existed and these situations had played out like this, how would that affect the 3 movies? And there were 3 DLCs that showed how these movies would have played out. And her DLC was really cool. Because Luke is killed in Empire Strikes Back, if Starkiller is a thing. And if Starkiller is a thing, how does that affect Leia if Luke has been killed? Well, Leia became a Jedi. And she has a really cool costume, which is very close to this. Shows a little bit more skin, but very close to this. And she has a yellow lightsaber. Bill likes the yellow lightsabers. Always has. Since the introduction of yellow lightsabers in KOTOR, that has been my favorite lightsaber. If I could pick one, yellow makes the most sense. It makes the most sense for me. I took that Jedi test seriously multiple times in KOTOR. I answered the questions multiple times the way that I would handle situations, and I often found myself constantly being classed as the Jedi Sentinel. And because of that, I found myself having a very drawn affinity to the yellow lightsaber. It felt right. It felt like this is part of my personality. And I'd never seen it in canon. There had never been a movie yet or a series yet that showcased a yellow lightsaber. It felt unique, and in a way, because of KOTOR, and because I answered the questions, and because that's what they told me I was, and because I was playing a character with my buddy where we actually like made ourselves and we were not allowed to pick any option that we as a person would not have personally picked, I found that very interesting because it felt like it was mine. So then when Leia shows up in a what-if scenario, and she shows up wearing a costume that I instantly thought was like the best costume that she could have worn, because it's a mix between the Hoth Leia, that was my favorite Leia, and a new Jedi idea that I'd never seen, and she had a yellow lightsaber, and she was very competent and fighting Starkiller, almost beats him in the DLC. It's really impressive, and because we always had that information, no, there is another. Like the idea that Yoda always had it in the back of his mind that if one of those kids was not going to grow up, he already knew there was one that would. That infinitely intrigues me. So then I come across this. It was from Big Bad, and it was during one of their sales, one of their clearance sales, and this thing was on sale. Like, really on sale. And I got this for like $12 or something like that. It was ridiculously on sale. Like it cost like friggin' nothing. And I said, I mean, I would be stupid to pass it up. So like, right? So I bought it. And now, because I own it, and I'm pretty sure I can find a lightsaber to give to her, because that's the way she's going to go on my shelf, okay? These blasters are pointless. This comic book panel is pointless. This information is pointless. I bought this to represent a completely different idea that speaks to me and nobody else. And I don't care, because, see, toys are a funny thing. You buy them, and then they're yours. And then you can do whatever you want with them. You can customize them. You can display them. You can make teams that never existed. You can do whatever you want with your toys. And for me, as far as I am concerned, this is video game Leia until they release a video game Leia. So I am going to find a lightsaber to give to her. And she will go on the shelf as that video game Leia until someday Star Wars gives me the Leia of my dreams. That's the way it is. That's why I bought this. That's somewhat of a long story, but I felt like there was a lot to go over here. Let's open her up. Okay. Leia. I like what they've done hair-wise here. Because it's still Leia. It still feels very intricate and very like royal, I guess, is the way that I'm going to put that. And it allows for a ridiculous amount of head movement, which, of course, we all know with females in any one of these lines, often the hair will be a problem. But for her, it's not an issue. Otherwise, this is very much a Hoth-type costume, and that's my favorite Leia. Hoth Leia was my favorite Leia. I like this Han Solo type belt. I actually think that's really cool. I actually like that quite a bit. She came with her standard blaster that we've always seen with her, and that actually does fit right in there, which is fantastic. You know that I like that. She has the double jointed knees. She has the thigh swivel, which is good. She can easily basically do the splits. That's not going to be a problem. She has the lower movement, which is fairly good. No upper movement at all. Single jointed elbows, which we've already talked about that in the Tarkin video, so we're not gonna go over that here. But to re-emphasize that Tarkin point right here, guess what she got? She got a blaster hand. And you know what a blaster hand means? It means she got a blaster. I'm just saying, okay? If you're going to do the blaster hand, give the blaster. But there's one point on the character we need to talk about. The one item that sticks out, the sore thumb, if you will. The thing that definitely sets her apart from the other versions. Okay? The cape. The cape, I'm sure you have already noticed, is solid. I mean, it does move, but you can't pull this out. It is 100% plastic. These flaps are there forever. So, and that kind of sucks because this you could tell is folded this way, which means originally this, if it would have been a soft goods cape, it would have folded down around and covered the first half of her. So she could have reached for her gun underneath cover and then pulled it and swayed the cape out as she moved to shoot, which would have been really, really cool. They opted for a solid material. Malleable for what it is, but solid. And solid enough that it actually becomes a problem when you pick the arms up, because when the arms go up, the cape goes up, and that's going to cause problems in like trying to create like the blaster effects, where if you want, like with me, if I want to do a photography set where she's like shooting a stormtrooper or whatever, I have to put her in a shooting pose, put her arm up, but make sure that her arm is just low enough or that the cape is bent at just the right angle that it's not going to cause a problem coming up on the chin and like kind of throwing the rest of the character off balance. It also may be heavy. It doesn't feel like it, but it could end up being heavy and throw the character's balance off. I just got her to stand up very easily, so maybe that's not a thing, which is good, because if it's not a problem, it's not a problem, and if it's not a problem, I'm not going to complain about it. So, fantastic, right? But she got the gun that makes sense for her comic book appearance. She got the gun that makes the most sense because it is the gun that we've often seen her with in most of the character releases and the filmologies in general. And overall, especially for what I paid, that's a solid figure. Still behind the times in terms of where I feel this. We should have double jointed elbows by now, Black Series. Where are the elbows? Because it's not just the female characters. The elbows, okay, we need them. Get them on these characters. Get them on these figures. I don't understand what we're doing. Like, the rest of your lines at your company are doing it. You do Marvel Legends. You do G.I. Joe. What? It really does confuse me. It's one of those things that confuses me. There's no bicep movement, single elbows. Like, I will never understand how toy lines at the same price point from the same company Not that they should necessarily share assets, but shouldn't they at least share, like, building resource? Like, you know how to do the double jointed elbows. You're doing it for your other lines. Why are we not doing it for arguably one of the biggest lines you own? I don't know. It will never cease to confuse me how the Star Wars toys are strangely behind the times and yet sell so... They just sell. Like, this is gonna sell. Not that she did. I mean, I got her on major discounts, so you could argue that doesn't. But most Star Wars figures, they go on the store shelves, they go out the door. And all of them are about 5 years behind the average action figure of that scale. From multiple companies, including their own. It confuses me. Regardless, Comic Leia added to the shelf. Fantastic. It will be video game Leia for me, but it's my toy. I can do what I want with it. Let's go back to the chat. Another OG nerd is Brian Blessed, who loved Flash Gordon and always played him as a child. Years later, to cement that role as iconic. Cool. And NECA did an amazing Voltan figure. I saw that. I did see that. I don't collect anything Flash Gordon, but hey, I respect when something good comes out, and it definitely looked good. And yes, we did talk about some stuff like that in that video, but it was part of my thought process for why I bought the toy in the first place. So you like the red and the purple. Neat. Shane likes the red a lot. That's his favorite. That's always his favorite. And no, the other wasn't Vader, because Yoda would have had no interest, and Obi-Wan already knew that. So Obi-Wan wouldn't be surprised. This is the thing about expanding your continuity over the years. The more you add to a movie or a property and create a franchise, the more complicated and stupid it gets, and the more we have to headcanon or mass canon explain things. Like, Obi-Wan says that boy is our last hope. No, there is another. And it very much indicates that Obi-Wan doesn't know who the other is. You were there. You watched the babies be born. You knew Anakin Skywalker. You know that Skywalker is Vader. You know the babies. You know where they went. You specifically went to Tatooine with one of them. And you specifically, now because of the extra canon that's been added, you specifically went out of your way to go help Leia all those years ago. So now you have direct association with Leia. You know that she is connected to the Force. You know Luke. You know Anakin. You know the situation that played. And you know everything that went down, where those kids went, and how they were hidden. And then you act like a dip when all of a sudden Yoda says, "No, there is another." And then later on he strolls up like the other that he spoke of was your twin sister. You didn't act like you knew. I watched that movie. I watched Yoda drop a knowledge bomb on you when you were like, "Oh, that boy's the only chance we got." And Yoda's like, "Actually, there were two kids." Like is the sun that hot on Tatooine? Are you having some troubles, man? You like got some memory problems up here? You can't remember that there were two kids? You remember just like what? Like 10 years ago? Like when you helped that little girl? You remember that little girl that you helped? Remember when you fought Anakin again? Remember you fought him again and you basically threw a mountain at him? Remember that? Like, the more we expand material like this and play around with the past, the more we affect the movies that were already made and make things that used to be cool seem really stupid, and then we have to go out of our way to come up with explanations as to why something would seem stupid, or why somebody would lie, or why somebody would not know about a thing, or like just different things like that. It's an ever-changing problem in the landscapes of gigantic properties like this. I would say that a property like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles escapes this problem because every Turtles is a new Turtles. Every Star Wars is not a new Star Wars. It's a new part of Star Wars, but not a new Star Wars. So we're not used to resetting the continuity and playing our own games again. IDW Turtles, they're IDW Turtles. Mirage Turtles, they're Mirage Turtles. Crappy, gigantic Michael Bay Turtles, they're Michael Bay Turtles. 2013 Turtles, they're 2013 Turtles. 1980s Turtles, they're 1980s Turtles. 2000 Turtles, they're 2000 Turtles. And every single one of them gets to do whatever they want with the malleable continuity because they're different every time. In a way, like Motu. Motu is the same way. Every time we see a new Motu, it is a new Motu. There are certain ideas that stay the same, but every Motu is its own Motu. It's not relying on the last Motu to be Motu and to continue from said Motu. The mini comics, different. The comics, different. The 80s series, different. The 2000 series, different. The Adventures series, different. I know they like to act like it's not, but it is different because some of the characters they introduce, they look way different, and they even have different backstories and whatnot, so different. Oh, and also Revelations, roughly based, a rough continuum of the original series, but still different. Things happened, but not the same way. We can very blatantly figure that out by watching Revelation. Just like, but in Revolution is different. Revolution is very much a continuation of Revelation, which is fine. Movie continuity, different. All of these things. Oh, and yes, Jared Leto, Skeletor, different. Very much different. Like, who knows? Maybe that will be amazing. Maybe that will be what redeems him. I have no idea. But that's what I'm saying. There are certain continuities that get away with this. There are certain that don't. As people that really like Star Trek, we will tell you, we read the novelizations. We read the novels. We read the comic books. Then all of a sudden the series came on and said, it's like this, by the way. And we were like, oh, well, crap. Throw that away. That didn't happen. Guess not. Comics were pointless. I guess they were a neat story to read, but they have nothing to do with this. And then all of a sudden, literally, here comes Enterprise, and Enterprise is like, here, phase pistols. And then we immediately go back to say, hold on, wait a minute. Didn't Spock say that phase pistol and phaser technology was not available until this said time? And this is before said time, so like, this doesn't make any sense? And then Discovery comes along, and Discovery's like, hey, this blah, blah, blah is how this works. And we're like, well, actually, that doesn't make sense because, you know what? It does now. Because these giant, long, 60-year properties, they will contradict and retcon themselves many times over to tell the stories that they want to tell. And the more you're in these big giant fandoms, the more you really need to just relax and go with the flow, because they're not going to be right. Like, they're not going to be right. They will make ridiculous mistakes and contradict each other. And the more you think about it, you're going to have to create your own headcanon at some point and go, this must have been what was going on there, because I have no idea. Like, it's so wild. Andor teaser thoughts, toy potential. Does Andor have solid toy ideas? There's no way it doesn't. Every single thing that has come out Star Wars has had toy potential. Like, there hasn't been a single thing that I've thought of Star Wars-wise that hasn't really got toys or doesn't have toys coming, in all honesty. There's no way around it. So did Leia just win, or 3 figures being done because poll looked like three-way tie. It was a three-way tie. So I could either pick one that I wanted to do, or I could do all three of them, and I am definitely doing all three of them. So the next step is to open up the 3-pack. Mr. Freeze wasn't a scientist. Right. No, exactly. And then Batman is one of those weird things too, because like there's Batman from the comics, but then there's Batman from the comics. And then there's Batman from the comics. And then there's Batman from the series. And then there's Batman from a TV show. And like all of these are their own things. They're not trying to add to the continuity because they'll screw it up. Sometimes the comic books are very much trying to add to the continuity, which becomes a problem. And then we have Crisis this and redub that and retcon this and reboot that. And the reason we do that is because comic books are one of those things that show us just how dangerous it is to play with these ongoing storylines that never dissipate. They just go on and on and on and on and on forever, and eventually will screw up its own continuity. Case in point. We are in Super. We purposely take away all the things that Goku already learned so we could teach him the things that Goku already learned so that we can have a show. Goku is learning Ultra Instinct. He is in development to take the next step in his martial arts evolution on Super, which will be Ultra Instinct. To step beyond the thought process. Don't think, feel. You know what's really weird about that? Goku's already been taught this by Mr. Popo in Dragon Ball. We already did this. He just like forgot everything that he ever learned so that he could be retaught everything that he ever learned and then be like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Look at how much stronger I am now that I remember what I was taught when I was 10. Like, this is how these stupid things work. Like, the bigger a property is, the longer it goes on, the more unwilling we are to cut the cord and let the property die, the more complicated and more like stepping on its own toes it gets. That's one of the reasons that Ninja Turtles and Motu are so infinitely interesting to me, because they go for about 10 years or so, and then they go, all right, let's do it again. And they just start again. And if you liked that other Turtles, that's fine. That's your Turtles. You stay over there, and you very much can enjoy that forever. No one's taking it away from you. But over here, we're going to watch a new Turtles. These ones are reincarnations. And they have all this huge history and everything that's built into the idea. And we are going to do a female turtle, but we're going to do it way better than we've ever done before. And these are Power Ranger turtles. They're stupid, but they're there. You can watch them if you really want to. This is what I'm saying. That these kinds of properties that allow themselves to reset and don't get stuck in the idea that something has to go on forever, it's actually a good thing. It actually helps these properties to stay alive for much longer and make more sense in whatever continuity you happen to be talking about. I think it really helps. This one has Seth Rogen. Yes, that one. There's no reason that should have been that funny, but for some reason it was. Oh, okay. This is going to be a big one. Okay, this is going to be a big one. Finally. Let's open this mug. Okay. Star Wars Phantom Menace 3-pack. This was the GameStop exclusive. It is the only reason I bought something from GameStop, and I needed this. That's the only way I can explain it. I needed this. This right here I wanted this figure. Qui-Gon is my favorite Jedi in all of Star Wars. He is the thing that makes the most sense to me when it comes to being a Jedi. He feels the most real. Of any other one that's ever been shown to us, some seem oddly arrogant. Some seem like they do their own thing and not necessarily follow the will of the Force. Some refuse to accept their fate. Some step outside of the order and constantly make decisions that don't make any sense, like when the Jedi went out of their way to become soldiers and generals when they were never meant to be that in the first place. And for what it's worth, I actually think that Qui-Gon is the deciding factor in the way that the universe shapes out. Because I am of the mindset, like a lot of other people, that Qui-Gon, had he trained Anakin, a lot of it either would never have happened that way or would never have happened at all. Qui-Gon could have acted as a father figure to Anakin and would have had a lot more compassion for the types of things that Anakin was going through, such as the dreams about his mother and so on and so forth. And Qui-Gon would have been a lot more hands-on in the actual training of Anakin over time. Because let us get something straight about this guy right here. The way that he viewed Anakin was, he heard that there was this kid that had a ridiculous connection to the Force. He looked at that blood sample. He said, well, that's crazy. The readings are off the chart. Even Master Yoda doesn't have a midichlorian count this high. And that's immediately followed by, nothing does. Like, this doesn't even begin to make sense. Nothing does. This is something straight out of legend. We have walked into something straight out of legend. And Qui-Gon, being the kind of person he is, he says, absolutely nothing happens without reason. I'm not here by accident. Our meeting is not by accident. There is a reason that the Force has put me here. There is a reason that these situations took place, that we are on this planet, that I cannot deal with the traitors here, and this kid just happens to be here, and he's my only ticket. Which means that I can go against that and be arrogant like so many of the other Jedi that we watch in terms of the series, or I can accept that this is the path that I am currently walking for some reason. And I can do what the Force is telling me to do. Obi-Wan, hearing that this kid is going to come onto the ship, his response is, why do I feel like we've picked up another pathetic life form? He doesn't like that kid. He has zero interest in that kid. He also agrees with the Council that that kid is dangerous. Is he right? One could argue. But one could also argue that in the hands of Qui-Gon, no, he was not dangerous. And one could also argue that had the Council got off its high horse and realized that Qui-Gon was right, Qui-Gon says, my only conclusion is that it must be a Sith Lord. And they're like, a Sith Lord? No, that's impossible because they haven't been around for like thousands of years, and Mace Windu, the most arrogant of said Jedi, basically immediately goes, I don't think they could return without us knowing about it. I'm too great for something like that to have happened. And the decision is made. You guys go back and do a thingy thing. Had they addressed this as an actual problem, and knowing that there is this possible Sith trained in Jedi arts who is currently hunting down Jedi, and specifically seems interested in this kid or this girl. We don't know. He could easily be after the princess, but he attacked us while we were traveling with the kid. So we could also assume that maybe he's after that kid. We don't know what this guy wants, and we know that this kid is very bizarre, and he has all this power, and something is weird. At this point, had the council taken it seriously and sent even one more Jedi with them, just to be safe, because something is seriously amiss, Qui-Gon wouldn't have died. Everything would have been different. Anakin needed a father. He needed somebody that could look after him, train him, teach him, and help him develop. Obi-Wan is more like a reluctant brother forced to raise a sibling who he never was prepared to do so. But he made a promise, and now he's going to follow it through. I wanted this figure. I looked everywhere. He was either overpriced or he looked weird. Like, he just didn't look right. Something was weird about every single time that I found one. I didn't like it, or it was on the wrong scale. Well, finally, GameStop releases a 3-pack. And supposedly they've redone the faces. I think there are minor changes to these figures. I don't know exactly what those changes are. I don't follow the line enough to know 100% as to what is going on, like what exactly is new. Only that the faces, I believe the portraits are new. And I think parts of the body might be relatively new, but I'm not going to make a promise on that one way or another. I'm just going to say that that's the way I understand it. I think the Darth Maul is fairly new. Regardless, let's open it. Let's see these guys, cause like that's what we're here to do. Oh, wow. Ugh. Yep, still muted. Wonderful. Okay, so let's try that again. Lightsabers, they're not blowing our minds. They're very much what we expected, but what I didn't expect, I thought we would get the lightsaber and we would get a hilt. We didn't. We got the lightsabers, and the blades actually come out of the hilts, so they serve the double purpose, and they have a peg that will allow them to go onto said figures, belts, that's solid. I don't hate that idea, and it's less plastic that I have to pay for and less plastic that I have to store. Because the more of these lightsabers you start picking up, the more Jedis and whatnot that you get from the collection. Before a while, like all of a sudden you have like a ton of these, and they're just kind of like taking up space in like your like extra inventories. But that's not going to be a problem here, and that's good. So this is cool. He came with a bunch of soft goods. He is... Why are we doing... So this, look, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to... Wait a second. That's not a double. Nope. Okay, I thought for a second that was a double. Nope, it's not a double. Single joint again. That's all the movement that we're going to get on a Darth Maul arm. On a Darth Maul arm, somebody that's known for taking really cool poses and whatnot, that's all we're going to get. That's bothersome. I don't know why this toy line is like strangely behind the other lines that exist within the same frickin' company. This is pretty hard plastic. It's malleable, but it's pretty hard. It will move. It will get out of our way, but we really have to make it do that. Oh my gosh. I was under the impression that this guy would be updated. He's updated in terms of they gave us this really nice cloak. Those are single jointed knees. Like, you're Darth Maul. So, let me get this straight. These are pretty much 100% re-releases. Decent enough. Lower torso movement. These are pretty much 100% re-releases of the original wave of figures that came out all those years ago, with better head sculpts. That is it. We're looking at single jointed knees, single jointed elbows, the old wrists. Like, oh yeah, just be glad he has legs, I guess. That shocks me. I will say this, the faces, though, are unbelievable. Like, it's really good. Like, it's really good. I look at this, and I say to myself, that's him. That's him. Like, that is 100% movie accurate, to the point where if you had the lighting just right and you set it up properly, you could almost fool somebody into believing that you took him. I mean, it is really good. I'm not joking how good these faces are. They're good. They're good. And because we have the cloth goods, like we actually have the full actual putting the hood up and everything like that, that's really cool. That's really good. Okay? That's good. That's solid. That's kind of amazing. All this extra robe and everything like that really gives him just an absolute cool look. I'm not mad. See, in my case, I don't have this, and I've never been able to get one. So in my case, adding this to my shelf is still really good. It's the figure I never had a chance to buy. And I actually think you can get this guy by himself already. I don't think he comes with the cloth goods, but I think you can get this figure right now. I think he's re-released. I think you can get him right now. I feel like I've seen him at Target. But like, single knees? I'm sorry, that just blows my mind. You didn't update it at all? To anybody that already has this on your shelf, you would be buying a head sculpt. A good one. It's good. But that's all that you would be doing, is buying a really good head sculpt. Are the others the same way? So we have Cloth goods. And by the way, this is actually really good. And the reason I say this is really good is because I have a couple of these now. Like I have Kit Fisto and whatnot, and his robes are not as good as this. Like I can tell that this is sized much better. Holy crap. That Ian is so good. That's the one thing about doing these on this camera, that I can't really show it off the way I would want to. As I do these live, it's kind of hard. You can't get like the face details and whatnot in there. So I still have to do, there's still a lot of these that I'm going to be doing back on the table there. But like, otherwise, the coloring and everything is really solid. Single knee, single joint knee, single. Okay? I'm sorry, this single with the little knee flap thing that comes down to try to hide the joint. Double. Kick his own butt knee. What? 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 Let me see your arms. Single joint arms? Single joint arms. Okay. So then, you, aside from a head sculpt, you're like the oldest articulated figure in the pack. Because you have old knees, old arms, old wrists. You just got a fancy cloak and a new head. I mean, like I said, I don't own these yet. So for me, this is a home run almost no matter what, unless next week all of a sudden they release a Darth Maul that has all the new double articulation and everything is perfect. Then we have a different kind of argument altogether and a new kind of irritation. But as we stand right here, like this guy, single joint right here, but double jointed knees, which is fantastic. The paint job is really solid. The cloth goods are fantastic, and the face sculpt is unbelievable. In terms of Black Series Star Wars, because Black Series, we have to give a little bit of leeway because everybody has bad arms in Star Wars. This guy's very solid. He's basically up to joint. I mean, guess that makes sense. He's up to date in terms of where Black Series is, and he has the absolutely fantastic new face sculpt, and so this guy is great because even the newest Star Wars stuff that I've got from the Black Series, they all have the single jointed arms and whatnot. So that's whatever. But he also the same thing. Qui-Gon, double jointed knee, absolutely perfect. He'll be able to do all kinds of movement and everything. I imagine, I don't even have to ask really, but I'm going to try to pull this up. His cloak feels different. Do you have the old cloak? No, his cloak feels different. Like maybe it's because his arms are somehow different. I don't know how. Maybe it's this part is different, the way the sleeve works or something like that. But regardless, single joint elbow, which is kind of what I expected. His cloak does feel different. I don't know. It feels different. I'm trying to figure out exactly how to explain it. I can't explain it. It doesn't feel the same. Oh, by the way, I'm going to give one thing to these guys. Sword hands. Sword hand? Sword hand. Not blaster finger. I get so tired of the Jedis being released with blaster finger. My Kit Fisto has a blaster finger. He doesn't have a blaster. He has a lightsaber. Stop doing that. And by the way, 2 sword hands. Do you have a blaster finger? No. Okay. No, just No. No, it's just so he can hold the sword differently. 2 sword hands, as far as I could tell. Sword hands. Yeah. Well, wait. Do you have a blaster finger? No. Okay. Sword hands. Because that's a blaster finger right there. So that's fine. That's perfect. Okay. Okay. Look, I'm going to give him that at the very least because that's really solid. That is an excellent, excellent Qui-Gon. That's him right there, man. That is fantastic. Is your head going to be a problem? The hair has... Ooh, there's very little give here. There's his turned head. Now he's going to look at something over there. Hopefully nothing comes from above you, because you ain't looking up. And you can kind of look down. Your hair is a problem, sir. It's about time they learned something from Jada and fixed the hair. Like, what are we doing with the hair? But, all problems aside, and it does come down to articulation, which is just an overall thing for Black Series. It's just a Black Series problem. These are still solid for me. I don't have either of these 3. I didn't have them in the original releases. I didn't have them in later releases. I didn't have them in any kind of special release. I bought them just now, right like this. So I guess for being what it is, for buying it right now, if you already have these, this is probably a big no for you. If you don't have these, this is the best version of them that you will get. But that being said, these are not going to blow your mind. Like, they're not fully updated with, like, perfect arms and, like, the double joints and, like, new butterfly, like butterfly joints for the elbows and no bicep movement or anything like that. You're not going to get anything like that out of these guys, okay? But for Black Series, for putting it on your shelf, and that's all I wanted to do was add Qui-Gon to my shelf. I just want him to stand next to Luke and everybody, okay? That's all I wanted. These are fine for me. So, added to the shelf, I have no real problems with them, aside from, I guess, what you watched me have problems with in real time, which I guess you could argue could be serious problems. I can say that's fine. I am a collector. So if I'm being perfectly objective and realistic here, if you have any of these guys, or if the only thing you want is, say you're buying it for the Darth Maul, buy the single card Darth Maul. The only reason to get this is you never had a Qui-Gon, or you never had a young Obi-Wan, and now they cost too much for you to just go get. That's it. There's no other reason to put these on your shelf. They are added to my shelf. They will do exactly what I need them to do. They're probably not a good idea for somebody else who is not in the position that I am in, where I never got them, so they'll be fine for me. Yeah. Added to the shelf. That's pretty much what I have to say about these ones. Happy with them, but they do have problems and you really should be aware of them before you like rush out and try to get your own 3-pack. Now let's see what the chat had going on here. Okay. Hey, if you don't throw away lightsabers, just use them as chopsticks. I have chopsticks. I have like 5 actual sets of chopsticks. Here we have Bill at the peak of collector intensity talking to his toys. Yeah, sometimes I have to speak to them, okay? Sometimes you gotta speak directly to your toys and let them know where they're messing up. Because the toys don't always get it right, man. Sometimes you gotta let them know, hey, what's wrong with your I do. I did actually have a set of lightsaber chopsticks. I don't think I have those anymore. Just be happy he has legs. Yes. Okay, Black Series. Articulation is hit and miss sometimes. Bugs me. Well, you know what? Yeah. I completely understand. I'm glad that I'm not big into Black Series. I'm glad that I don't freak out and have to have them, because this would be a line that would cause me a lot of problems. Basically, with Black Series, I want the very specific item that I want, and then once I have it on the shelf, I don't need another. And chances are, even if they did better ones, even if they were like, hey, this is all new with better articulation and everything, I still don't care. Chances are I still do not care. Let's see. That's a deep single arm joint on Obi-Wan. If the range is far enough, a single joint can still get most opposes you need. And I will agree with that. I will agree with that, but it still kind of blows my mind that they don't have the double elbows. Like even with Tarkin earlier, when I was like, you can't have him actually do this or anything. He can't do those kinds of things because they don't have butterfly joints. G.I. Joe does, or at least some of them up there. They certainly move well enough. Yeah, they do. I'm looking right at them. They have butterfly joints. So it just blows my mind. You're Hasbro. You are the ones doing. You're the ones doing the line. You do Marvel Legends. They got them. They don't have butterfly joints. They don't have the double elbows. It just blows my mind. Your Black Series, you've been around almost as long as Legends, and you've been around longer than G.I. Joe Classified, and somehow you're behind both of them. Too many reasons to pass all that money for a few heads, and that is what it is. Like I said, for me, this is fine. For me, I didn't have any of them. So spending $60 to get the whole set, it wasn't really that big of a deal. I feel like that probably would have hit me that way anyway. If I would have tried to hunt down a Qui-Gon and everybody in the condition that I wanted. So this isn't bad for me, but I completely understand a pass from the average collector who already has this stuff. You would be wasting money. You would be wasting $70, $80 to get better heads, and that's it. It used to be a proper Darth Maul toy. Then he took an arrow. Yes, I did. Strangely enough, we did the vote earlier for Star Wars, and there were only 3 votes, and each one of those votes went to a single figure. So the only one that did not get opened was Bastila. She did not get a single vote, which I'm honestly... Well, there were only 3 people there, so I guess I'm not overly surprised. But, I felt surprised that she didn't get a vote because, Bastila's awesome. So that actually kind of surprised me. At first it looked like Leia, because there were only 2 votes. It looked like Leia and Tarkin were going to win, and then the 3-pack got a vote, and then there were only 3 votes. And then I talked for quite a while and then finally decided to go ahead and open all 3 of them because, I don't know, because it's Christmas. My time is not terrible yet. Oh. Looks like next on the list is... Let's see here. Let's see what I can do. So the next on the list is going to be... There we go. And we will add... I know I have that, and I know I have... Oh my, that is wrong. And then I think... Move these to the side. I know I have this, this. Oh, okay. Bam, there, perfect. That's what I got right there for this. Your Hasbro, you were supposed to stop the bad articulation side, not join them. I know, yeah, absolutely. Darth Maul should have the articulation range of Cammy. Hover bike legs, face kicking flexibility. Absolutely, it really should. Cool, I can vote for one since I'm actually awake and not sleeping during the stream. Yes, yes, I completely get that. 100%. Let's see here. I got... Oh, wow, that actually surprises me. I didn't even expect this many viewers to be on because of, like, what day it is. Like I didn't expect it at all because, you know, it's Christmas. So I figured this would be a pretty dead stream, but I was surprised to see people got in here almost immediately. I was pretty much under the idea that maybe I'd get one, maybe two people at best. I think I've got 8 or 9 people currently watching, and I don't even know if that's 100% because the way YouTube often does it, sometimes it'll tell me there's one person watching and there's like 5 people in the chat, and I'm like, what is happening? And sometimes it'll tell me like 9 people or 16 people are in here, but then like only one person is in the chat. YouTube doesn't seem to know anything. I don't understand how YouTube gets its numbers. Dude, you know what? Yeah, no, I get that. Let's see. I mean, Bill, the Christmas celebrations are on Christmas Eve and Christmas morning. Fair argument, to be fair. I remember we used to do a Christmas dinner, like an on Christmas dinner. But I remember that used to always be kind of a pain because basically everybody would show up, they'd hang out, they'd do Christmas dinner, they'd all go home around like 8, 9 o'clock at night, and then you'd have to go to work almost immediately, like, you know, so like, I remember that kind of being an irritation. Okay. Actually, I don't think Shane has ever been on a single one of my streams. I don't think he watches any of my videos. He often tells me, "Oh, you know, I want to support you, but like, you know, I don't really care about toys." I get that, but I keep trying to tell him, I'm like, actually, we talk about a lot of stuff in here. Like it just so happens that yes, I'm a toy channel, but like the toys often give way to a lot of discussions. Just got in from Christmas dinner, chilling with toy streams, sounded good to me. Yeah, no, absolutely. Wanted to ask, do you like the new Superman suit for the new movie? I mean, I like the fact that the cape seems just right in terms of its length. I like the fact that it has the shield on the back. That's what I'm going to call it. It has the shield on the back. I don't think we're ever going to get away from the fact that Superman costumes cannot be flat anymore. They have to have like all the little plates. And I don't mean like armor, I mean like stitch plates. Everything is stitched in like segments. I just think that's the way that it is now. But for what it's worth, I also think that aside from the way the S looks, I like that we got the belt back. I like that we got the briefs back, the trunks. I like that the color seems vibrant. You know, there are things I could complain about, but I don't think there's any necessary reason for me to complain about the current Superman costume. I actually think it's going to be fine. The S shield is probably my biggest and only real complaint, is I don't like that S. So your thoughts on the HasLabs that funded this year? Regrets, internals, the only one I really know about is, so like I don't buy G.I. Joes, so I skipped on all of those, so I wasn't even paying attention. And then I did buy the, no, sorry, I knew about the Ghostbusters one, but we talked a lot about that. I skipped on that. Poor timing was a big part of it. And then the more I sat with it, the more I realized there is a big part of FOMO in that car that I don't need it for $500. And the FOMO isn't enough to make me get it for $500, regardless of what it comes with. I remember you guys dogged hard on Henry Cavill. It wasn't that bad. It's just, to me, the Henry Cavill costume was too dark, and it very much bled into the personality of what those movies were trying to be. They were trying to be a darker Superman, and I honestly believe that Henry Cavill could have been a fantastic Superman. I think he wasn't given a proper chance. This new guy looks like he's going to be given a chance to be Superman. I really do. I think this will be more my speed as to what I want from a Superman movie. Because Superman is the infinitely powerful, uncorruptible Boy Scout. And I don't care how that looks. That's what he should be. End of story. I don't need Dark Superman that breaks Zod's neck. I just don't need him. Something I always wanted to ask was, what was the weirdest figure you've ever bought or gotten? No. I had a little knight one time, like a 5-point articulation knight with a shield, and he would like lift it up and hit his own face because like the shield was like in his way, and his head only turned like this, and he would be like dink, dink, and then he had like a sword that was out like this, but he could only like that was it, and he was real tiny and like super bow legs, and he was like a Dark Knight looking thing, and for some reason I've always remembered that figure. It's just very weird. It reminded me of like Ghosts and Goblins, but like bad. I don't know why, but I never forgot that figure. Oh, and the wireframe guys that you used to get at Christmas. That was I asked my family over and over again, please, Green Ranger. I got the T-pose wireframe figure in my stocking. Not that I didn't play with him, but like I hated those toys, and I remember I got a couple of those things. Brandon had the Kingdom Come suit, and Tyler had the Max Fleischer Superman suit. Those are my two favorites. Dude, that Fleischer suit that only appears for one scene, that was peak Superman design. So, let me open this before I run out of time. There she is. Okay. Endless Winter, Gold Label, Wonder Woman. Let's do it. She does look good, doesn't she? Let's see if McFarlane pulls something off here, because the last Wonder Woman that I had, I took her off the shelf. So let me start by saying I don't know this storyline. I have not read it. That's not that I have no interest. It's that there are a million things to read out there, and I am currently reading hundreds of them, which gives me less time to read hundreds of these. And I am watching hundreds of things, and I'm playing hundreds of things. And as we do that, we miss out on certain things. This is one storyline that I did miss out on. It will not be hard for me to catch up on this. This will be a very simple buy that I can read in one sitting because I'm sure that there is just a single graphic novel that I can read. So why did I buy this? One, it is Wonder Woman. Two, it did feel like it fit the design. And because three, even though I've already missed the opportunity twice, I want some winter figures. I wanted some figures that I could do some winter shots with for like when it snowed. It snowed one time and I was working 10 hours at work, and then I got home and then the sun was already down and it basically stopped snowing. Then it snowed again, but it snowed like in the morning, and by the time I got home it was no longer snowing and there was snow on the ground, but it like wasn't enough to get the kind of shots that I would have wanted, so it didn't feel right to go out and get them. Winter's far from over. I'm sure that we'll get another big one at some time. Not that I'm looking forward to it. I don't like snow. I don't like to be in the snow. I don't like to drive in the snow. I don't like to play in the snow. I don't like the snow. Period. Once you get... Maybe this isn't fair for everybody. Once you get to be an older person, my age, I am 40, and once you get to be 40 years old, and you have the kind of living situation that I do, when it snows, you drive to work and you literally risk your life to do menial labor. When it snows, you risk your life to go home. That's not a joke. You literally do. I don't think anybody really stops to think about that, but there is not a time that it does not snow here. Every single time that it snows here, I see people in the ditches, I see people in the gutters, I see automobile accidents. The last time it snowed here, driving home, there were 3 car accidents on just my 15-minute commute. That's it. There were 3 of them, and they were all pretty big accidents. Like, I saw 2 totaled cars and 1 car that was spun out completely backwards and fell into the ditch. And you literally risk your life because you don't have to be the guy that messes up. That jerk can be the guy that hits you. You take a chance with your livelihood every time it snows. You take a chance with your life every time that it snows, just to go to work, just to come home to work, just to pick somebody up, just to make a random trip to go do something that doesn't really need to be done. And every time it snows, if you live in a situation like me where like I have a home, I have to go shovel. I have to go shovel, and I have to put down salt, and I have to do all this extra stuff. Snow is not fun. I don't like snow. There's nothing magical about snow, okay? I know White Christmas and blah, 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 and some people are going to be like, oh my gosh, bah humbug Bill. You know what? I'm fine. I'll take that label. I don't like the snow. And also, because I have worked in factory labor and warehouse labor for so long throughout the course of my life, that like, snow also means that there's a high probability that I will like be outside in it. I don't want to do that. I don't like snow. Okay, it's not magical to me. It's a pain in my butt. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. But I think snow makes for some absolute fantastic photography shots. And I don't really have a lot of snow figures. So I said to myself, Bill, you're going to get some snow shots this year. You didn't do it last year. Well, okay, that's not fair. I did a couple of snow shots last year, but they were scenery snow shots. The way it looked, it was too good to pass up, so I did some scenery photography. But then I said to myself, Bill, you need some figures for the snow this year. And I've missed my opportunity each time that it has snowed, and I haven't really opened a whole lot of snow-esque figures. Well, here we go. That is the only real reason I bought this Wonder Woman. At all. For the snow and for Wonder Woman. So we will see how this goes and how I feel it looks, because I don't know. And I know that McFarlane is famous for giving us figures that, like, can't move. So I don't know if this will very much be like a figure that's basically just standing in the snow, or if this will actually be a good figure. We will find out soon. Let's open her. Okay, so shield. Decent enough. I mean, we're not going to cry about it. It's decent enough shield. One could argue the paint could have been better. This could have been a more bronze with kind of like a finish to it, and maybe if not even a finish, just like a better bronze color with like an actual bit of shine that could reflect a little bit in the light, but not terrible. I don't expect way too much from McFarlane figures, and if we're being perfectly honest, we've talked about this before. When it comes to figures, especially like in the McFarlane line, you're talking about figures that are at a $20 and $25 value, up to like $40 at the best. Well, you could argue, but you get the idea. I will forgive a lot in a figure line that is that cheap. So, gotta like this axe. Okay, one could argue that this should have been like painted, but this is fine. It's just nothing that I'm interested in complaining about. So, let's see her. Okay, so in terms of design, because I am seeing this for the first time. So, Endless Winter, I don't know what the storyline is about. I'm assuming it is cold. I'm assuming we're looking at an end-of-world event that caused it to be super cold. And so a lot of these heroes, they took on motifs that kind of play to the idea. And for that idea, this is still very much Wonder Woman. I like that she's done her hair like this. So, and actually, this is kind of accurate and whatnot for like a snow kind of thing, because this would help to stop things like the accumulation of it building up in your hair and whatnot, and then your hair getting really wet and everything. Keeping it tight like this would actually keep you a little bit warmer. Not that she really has to worry about that, but you get the idea. I like the idea of the face. It's kind of stern, but it's really cool. Like, it looks good to me. It's a good looking Wonder Woman with this really defined right here. It's kind of hard on the brow and everything. One could argue she should be a little prettier, but I don't think this is bad, in all honesty. I like that you have the Wonder Woman motif design right here, but under it, we've added this really thick layer, and that's because, it's cold. I'm guessing, very much making assumptions here. I like that we still have the gauntlets, but we're now wearing these like gloves over the gauntlets. So there's still a lot of Wonder Woman factors here that I'm seeing that make me feel like the design is well thought out. It's very much Wonder Woman while still adding to the idea and playing to the storyline idea. We've added this area right down here, which is very much like something out of like snowy barbarian comics or like Norseman type of ideas, where we're playing with an idea like we have the long Ted battle skirt that kind of keeps you warm and whatnot. We have the front and the sides, which is really solid, where the front very much represents the old figure design, like the old look where the battle skirt is. And we have this really cool belt that comes down that I like quite a bit. And then we're still wearing the boots these have kind of become the customary boots that we see on Wonder Woman ever since Gal showed up, ever since we did the Wonder Woman with Gal Gadot. How do you say that name? Am I supposed to say Gadot? Because I've heard people say it both ways, and I don't want to necessarily be wrong. I really like her, is the reason I'd like for that to be correct. But you get the idea. But we're very much wearing her boots. I'll call them the Gal boots. As far as I'm concerned, any Wonder Woman that's wearing these boots, they are Gal inspired, because this was not a comic thing until Gal wore these boots. And then they started showing up a lot on like the actual character design, which is fine for what it's worth. But we don't have skin this time. These boots wrap around and they're still very much the same, but you could tell that underneath of them we've added thick layers because we have the pants and everything because of the situation that we're dealing with, is my guess. We are looking at a McFarlane type figure, so yeah, we're not going to get too much out of it. Side kicks are somewhat possible. Front kicks are somewhat possible. The knees are double. Are they double? Yes, they are, and they're actually very good. So the knees are double, so we got a lot of movement here. So we'll be able to take a lot of stances and everything that won't really give us any troubles. They are high heels, but they did something that I argue this all the time. If you're going to do high heels, I still kind of want this area filled in. because these are action figures, okay? And one of the things that I need my action figure to do is stand. I need it to stand. So even I'm willing to give up certain levels of accurate comic accurateness. I realize that they're in stilettos sometimes, but keep these flat, which I honestly believe that Gal's boots, they're flat like that anyway. They have the heel, but then they have the entire bottom area, which is flat to give her the stabilization and whatnot. So I think that's accurate to these boots in the first place, but that you get what I'm saying. Like if you're going to do heels on a character like Emma Frost, I'd rather this area be filled in and just give me the idea that the heel is there, because I want them to be able to stand. And I also like all of this. The fur cape and everything like that comes down. If this was a later McFarlane, maybe this could have actually been a fur thing that could have wrapped around her, and that would have been really cool. Especially since we're actually getting the capes now, which brings up a question. Are we about to have a whole bunch of re-releases of the stuff that we've already got, so that now we can buy them with the capes, and everybody wants the capes, so of course we're going to be like a bunch of schmucks, go out and buy the guys that we've already bought? Because I could see us doing that. I don't want to do that, but I can see us doing that. But otherwise, that's her. I like this design. I think it is very solid. I think that for what it's worth, putting the shield on and whatnot, we have the shield. That was incorrect. I apologize. Not that it mattered to anybody, to be honest. But we have the shield, which is really solid. We have the axe, which will go in her hand, I'm sure. I haven't encountered a problem like that in the McFarlane stuff yet. Usually the hands are pretty decent about that stuff. I'm having a little bit of trouble, to be fair, but I really don't think, once I mess with it for a little while, there, pull your fingers out a little bit. There, I got it. Is this an up and down wrist? It's a ball joint wrist. But she has the axe. I don't think I'm gonna like blow anybody's mind with the way that I'll be able to pose it or anything like that. But I think with a really good shot, just something as simple as like this, actually, just this kind of a stance, or maybe something to the side where she's like standing like this or something like that, just out in the snow, or maybe even if that is across her shoulder, like where I can get something like this, and if I have the snow actually coming down on her, I think that she will do just a couple of easy poses out in the snow. I think she's good. She's decent. Not the best figure I've ever opened. Wow, I just put her right down. She stood easily. Like no problem at all. Just stood right up with no problems at all. Good. Endless Winter Wonder Woman added to the shelf. And I don't see any reason to complain about this one. I got rid of the other one. We talked about it. I can't even remember what one it was right now. But I took one of the Wonder Woman off the shelf in the Wonder Woman What Stays, What Goes video. The DC shelf, What Stays, What Goes. We talked about that. I got rid of one because I just did not like her. This one doesn't feel like it's going to share the same fate. I feel like there's a lot of Wonder Woman here. And I feel like overall it's a better figure and it doesn't have that sword problem. So that's a plus for her regardless. Added to the shelf, happy to have her. And the end here before I get out of here, because I do have to go here pretty soon. I've only got this till like 8, so like only 7:50. So we're at the end. Let's see. Thanksgiving 2.0 is tomorrow for my birthday dinner. And then, okay, yep. Let's see. To be fair, snapping the neck was stupid. I thought a couple of things were somewhat stupid in the way they ran that Superman. But not that I'm like willing to get a whole bunch of stuff and get all crazy about it or anything like that. So I'm guessing you don't care or straight up hate the Injustice storyline with Dictator Superman. No, I'm fine with that Superman. But you're misunderstanding. They took a Henry Cavill. They took Henry Cavill's Superman and they made him in an in what was supposed to be a continuing storyline of universe building. We were supposed to be building a DC cinematic universe with a Superman. Superman is the hope of that universe. He is the prime hero, the main example, the best of the best, what everybody hopes to someday become or be. Everybody, every single hero in DC is looking up to Superman. He is the perfect, uncorruptible super person, the good guy. You introduce Henry Cavill by having him, like, dodge semis, destroy ridiculous amounts of the city, like, probably kill hundreds of thousands of people. Definitely kill Zod directly. You can argue whatever you want in that context. But the thing is, you can't have Superman be that. If you watch the original Christopher Reeve movie, you're going to notice that when he's fighting 3 Supermen in the city, his attention is always on the people. Even the very beginning of that fight, go back and watch that and actually stop. Look, I am somebody who believes very much in visual storytelling. And I think that 80% of the story you are receiving subconsciously, and you have to watch it again and again and again to ever notice the detail is there. In the very beginning of that fight, he shows up, he says, Zod, you want to step outside? Why? Because he wants to get those super people out of that building. There are humans in there that can be hurt. He doesn't give a crap about the buildings necessarily. He gives a crap about those people that are in there with these super people. And he's not going to go in that building and punch them out and punch them all around inside of the building. They come out of the building. He then goes to fight them there. He takes them somewhat to what he considers to be a mildly abandoned area, an area where there's some construction going on. You see cranes and stuff like that. That's on purpose. He took them there. He sits down, and the very first thing they do is they talk some crap to him, and then they offer him this chance, and he tells them, no, I ain't going to do that. Then Zod laser beams this thing. It comes down. He catches it. It's a big, giant slab of concrete they were about to put on this building. The very first thing that Superman does, he doesn't get his fist ready. He doesn't prepare his laser eyes. He doesn't talk more crap. Watch. He will instinctively look down towards the people that are there. He sees there are people. He hasn't cleared the area. He can't get them completely out of this area enough to guarantee that what's about to go down won't hurt somebody. And when he throws the concrete, Superman, being indestructible, doesn't fly through the bricks and punch Zod in the face, which he could easily do. No, he purposely uses his heat vision to dust that wall of concrete. He superheats it to dust. Why? Because if he flies through it, those pieces are going to go down there where people are. Superman, Henry Cavill, doesn't give a shit about people. He saves a couple of them. But for the most part, he's just punching Zod through building after building after building after building. Superman stops mid-fight to help people in not just the old movies, but in a lot of the comic books. He's the guy that often looks out for the people around and will oftentimes take an L to guarantee that the people around him are safe while he's fighting a supervillain, which is often the only reason the supervillains get anything on him whatsoever, is because he will take that hit to guarantee that those people don't get hurt. That's Superman. Now, when you do the Injustice Superman, 2 things make it work. 1, that is not the Prime Universe. It's a what if. 2, not only did we get Dictator Superman in the exact same storyline, guess who shows up to deal with the situation? Superman. The quintessential good person Superman shows up and reminds that universe what he used to be and deals with the situation. Injustice is good. It's good. The Henry Cavill issue is that for that idea, that universe, that design, he is the Superman. And they played him dark, brooding, sad, constantly dressed in darkness, standing in the rain, looking like something out of Batman, saving people with a frown on his face. I have high hopes for this next Superman, because I think while Henry Cavill could have done it, he could have made a great Superman, he could have been one of the best, I think they screwed him. That's what I think happened. And yes, I got a lot of them, actually. I don't know if I'd still call them Matty Collector, but I got a lot of the Motu figures this year. I probably only passed on like 2 or 3 at most from Origins. And Origins is about the only thing that I'm leaving behind at this point. If you hate the snow, we should swap living locations. Here the seasons are flipped and you can go to the beach. I lived in Florida. I know what it's like not to have snow. It's supposed to rain all week. We're already, yeah, I'm fine with that. It can rain. I don't like snow. It's too soft. It's hard to shovel. It's irritating and it gets everywhere. You know what? I'll take the Anakin hit. I don't like the snow. I was going to say the shield is gold, but then I remembered Bill is colorblind. It don't shine like gold. My point is still relevant. Henry Cavill's Superman is a Dragon Ball type fighter in Superman costume. Just absolute collateral damage. And that's a big problem for me. Anyways, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. Really, it was cool. I did not expect to get even a third of the amount of people that came in and talked and hung out and actually voted and everything. I'm actually very surprised. I very much look forward to the next stream in general. I don't know when that's going to be. I wish I could do that easier, like actually kind of make guarantees. I can't. This very much depends on when I'm by myself and when I'm able to do what I'm able to do. And a lot of it depends on like when my wife works and things like that and when I have the free time to actually do something like this. So far, I think these are going over very well, and I'm starting to kind of format them to get the independent episodes out of these as well, so that we can keep them and keep the annotations running and everything. I think these are working out pretty well. We'll see how they continue as we go. But like I said, hey, happy holidays. Thanks for hanging out. I absolutely did not expect anybody to show up, let alone a lot of people to show up and a lot of people to actually talk and hang out. I'm going to get out of here. I got to go pick up my wife and then I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if we're watching movies or what we're doing. We might watch more Superman. Because one of the things I am currently watching is I'm watching the Superman and Lois show, because that is what Superman is supposed to be. That's a good show. That's a great show. That is peak level Superman. That's what he's supposed to be. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks. See you next stream or next video for what it's worth. We have one going up like almost every single day right now. I'm gonna get out of here. Later on.